Hey, Warrior Saints, good morning. Welcome to our Crucifixional Life stream. Glad to have you beautiful people in with us. We are excited to continue our study of words. Talking about the battlefield in your mind. It's been a great couple of weeks. We're working hard. We've got a lot coming to you. I want to share a lot with you at the end of our lesson. But today I want to talk about words and the inability we have to say and use words that correspond with reality. So the alarm in our church went off in the middle of the night. And I got a call, they sent me a message, and I was talking to the alarm company. I said, look, we've had 2 false alarms in the last week. Something's not right. How do we fix it? And she said, let me send you to service. I said, fine. So she sends me to service. I explain it to that person. And that person says, oh, we're residential. Let me send you to someone with our membership experience team. And I'm like, you're what? Your membership experience team? Like, what do you say? What does that even mean? Like right now, my experience in membership is not that good. Like, what are you talking about? My membership experience team. It was a funny use of words. And I thought, well, like we do that all over the place. Then it triggered in my mind the memory of a great and hysterical and brilliant comedy sketch done, I believe, in the 90s by George Carlin. And if you haven't seen it, I want you to look it up. Go to YouTube and just put in the search bar George Carlin language, and you'll see it. And in it, he exposes the softening of languages. But the great example he uses is about the First World War. So for those who may not have seen it, in the First World War, he was talking about the soldiers who had enough stimuli, enough shock, enough chaos. They had participated in war and their mind had reached the breaking point. It was either on the verge of breaking or had already snapped. And those soldiers who came back home after the war in that experience, that condition, it was called shell shock, right? Shell shock. Now you can hear it, harsh sounding, but authentic and real. I mean, there was shock and trauma in their mind from all the shelling going on around them, whether through the rifles or the bombs that were dropped. I mean, you can see and hear in that word the reality of the language. Another generation goes by, you get to the Second World War. Now that same condition is renamed battle fatigue. So it was shell shock. And now in the Second War, it's called battle fatigue. Same stuff, same experience, same breaking point, but it's now called battle fatigue. And as Carlin notes, it's fatigue. It's just a little softer than shock. But by the time we get to the Korean War in the 50s, early 50s, that same experience, that same condition is known as operational exhaustion. Right? Now you can hear it. And of course, as you know where I'm going, by the time we got to Vietnam in the 60s and 70s, that same condition has become post-traumatic stress disorder. And all of the humanity is taken out of that experience and that condition by those words, post-traumatic stress disorder. What does that even mean? We now know that it means nothing in relation to soldiers in war, because we use that post-traumatic stress disorder in many and various conditions that people have. It's not specific to anything. It's not human anymore. It's not real, right? And the failure to use words that correspond to truth and reality is a part of, and I think a major contributor to the fattening, dumbing, and softening of the American mind, right? Perhaps the global mind. Let's say global. We're becoming fat, dumb, and stupid. I just say it. I mean, we are, soft because of the language. Remember yesterday we talked about unicorn? And I say that word, it produces thought in your mind, real or not, it doesn't matter. I took control of your mind and started created a reality. Likewise, when you go from shell shock to PTSD, you're controlling the mind. Words, language control the way we think. The one that is important for me today that I want to talk about for us as Warrior Saints that we have to be mindful of is that we don't talk about death. We don't say he died, she died. We don't say that anymore. It's uncomfortable. We don't like it. We don't want to deal with it. We say things like, he passed away. I mean, right? That's what we say, right? Or as we were talking about it earlier, Greg's like expired, right? Like, when you go and fill out your will, upon my demise, like, why don't you just say when I die, right? We're afraid to talk about death. Well, maybe we're not, but we're now told to, because we use words like pass away, demise, and expire. All of these soft words that don't put reality behind the fact that death is coming for all of us. God willing, 100 years from now for you beautiful people, right? Like, God willing, it's not tomorrow. But the reality is that death is indeed coming, and we don't like to talk about it, which is not good, because then we are not prepared for it. Right? Like, this is the greatest problem that I'm seeing in this softening of language, is that death is real. It is a reality. I'm sure all of you have experienced it, losing a loved one at some point in your life. And you have to recognize that that experience, that death, is coming for you as well. And the point of all of it is that we have to be ready for that moment. When we don't think about it, we're not preparing for it. That's just kind of how it goes, right? Like, you can see it. There's this beautiful text in 1 Thessalonians. You got to forgive me. I dropped my glasses. Give me 1 second. I'm really at the point now I can't see it without them. And this beautiful text in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, where Paul is talking about death and the dead. And he says these beautiful verses. Listen to them and see how it's not a fearful thing. It may be fearful, but it doesn't have to be fearful in our hearts and minds when we hear. But we would not have you be ignorant, brethren, concerning those who are asleep. Now listen to that. Asleep. In English, right? Like, even in the Bible, they soften the language for us. That you may not grieve as others do who have no hope. For since we believe that Jesus died and rose again, even so through Jesus, God will bring with him those who have fallen asleep. Right? Again, fallen asleep. You can hear it. I mean, it's like we're afraid to say that word even in translation. But the beautiful part is that Christ, who died, he actually died. That's the point of the cross, that he died on the cross. It's real. And as he was raised by the glory of the Father on the third day, so too those of us who will die, like I said, God willing, in many years, and peacefully and without sin and all of that. But we will die. We will also be taken, if we are with Christ, through death. But to get to the point where we are with Christ, to go through death, we have to be prepared. To be prepared means we actually have to talk about it, think about it, plan for it. Like, look, let me just tell you, if you don't have a will, you better end this recording today and go get one. Last will in the testament, do your what do they call that stuff when you prepare your funeral by the cemetery plot and all. Do all that stuff, right? Make your arrangements. Do it. Leave a will. Tell your family what you want, how you want to see it. Your medical power of attorney. Go do all that stuff. Be prepared. But more importantly, be prepared. Right? Be ready, because it's a moment that's a-coming. And it's going to take you. And there is nothing that any one of us can do to stop that moment. Even if we say the words, pass away. We're going to die, brothers and sisters. I know it sounds gloomy, but by pushing this, I want us to think so that we can prepare our hearts and minds so that we might be with Christ, that as he was raised from the dead by the glory of the Father, we too might walk in new life. Do you understand? That's the point of it. When we distract ourselves from the very reality of the word, we also distract ourselves from the very reality of preparation. And really, this life, as a warrior saint, it is to be ready and to be prepared for transition from this life into the next. You understand that? I don't want you to be robbed of that ability to prepare. I don't want the softening of our language to take away from you the opportunity to be the very best warrior saints that you can be. And so instead of saying pass away, let's just say it. It is what it is. It's not PTSD. It's shell shock. It's not expiring. It's death, and it's real. It is an aspect of reality that we have to face, but by Christ's help, we can overcome. By living a crucifixional life, we can conquer that. Do you follow? That's the whole point. Don't rob yourself. Don't cheat yourself out of the opportunity to prepare yourself as a warrior saint, right? Now look, it's hard. That battle is all here. That's all here. That's why I think, it's in language. That's why the words are being softened, because that battle is here. When you use words, it doesn't affect here. It affects here, right? Unicorn doesn't affect here. It affects here. You follow that. So the battlefield is here to help you as you fight through all of those temptations. As you struggle through is the way of the warrior saint. You can see it right here. There's a couple of things you can do. Visit warriorsaints.org, number one. Number two, visit warriorsaints.org/book. /book, and you can get the book there, which will help you on your journey of becoming a warrior saint. We have a multitude of people who are like, they're ready. It's like, it's time now to engage this battle, to fight for the reclaiming of our minds, that they might be rightly aligned towards God and not towards the things of the world. We'll help you do that as well. Very simple. warriorsaints.org. You can see it right there. Join us. We love you, beautiful people. Tomorrow, we will continue this conversation. I'm hot on it, so we're going to keep going, talking about words and language. But until then, as always, keep walking on the way of the warrior saint.